Alright, welcome back to the channel. I am the Urban Tarzan, and this particular video is not a video that I was intending to make. I decided that I was going to put a new trigger on one of my daggers, ran into some issues, discovered a bunch of things, and decided that, there's some pretty good information here that I'll make a video on it. So stick around, let's talk about it. I'm going to try to make this quick and hopefully give you some good information if you own a dagger and you're thinking about upgrading your trigger. So let's get into it. Alright, so if you're new to the channel, a little backstory here. This is my dagger compact frame. I had this for quite a while. Probably have around 3,500, 4,000 rounds through this frame. Loved it. Decided to get the Dagger S full size a little while ago. Probably got about 1,500 to 2,000 through this frame. And I've been using the same slide. So this trigger, this is the original trigger, and it was okay when I got it. And the more it broke in, the more I got accustomed to it. I thought, I just never upgraded it. I shot it well with this trigger. Still like the trigger. It's pretty smooth now. So then I got this one. And again, you got to go through the break-in process with the trigger. I started getting used to it. I was shooting this one really well. I didn't really have any intention of changing the trigger. And then one day I just happened to be online. And I saw this Polymer 80 straight trigger, flat face trigger on sale, and Gen 1 to 4. These take Gen 3 triggers. So I said, what the heck? You know what? Let me give it a go. So I ordered it. And I didn't film it. I didn't think it was going to be a big deal. I thought I popped a new trigger right in, and off we go. Well, that was not the case. So let me tell you what happened. All right, so the new trigger came in the mail. I wasn't expecting any issues, no big deal. Wasn't going to film it, wasn't going to do a video. There's enough trigger replacement videos out there. So I just ran upstairs, pulled the slide off, popped this pin, popped this pin, popped this pin, pulled out the block, pulled out the slide release, pulled out the trigger, popped the new trigger in. This is the old one. Obviously, this is the new one. Popped the new trigger in. Right back, pin, pin, pin. Put in the parts. Slide back on. Took it outside. First shot, doubles. Boom, boom. Uh-oh, didn't like that. Next shot, doubles. Boom, boom. Next shot, triples. Boom, boom, boom. All right, didn't like that. Came upstairs. Popped the pins, took everything apart, took the trigger bar out, took the trigger and trigger bar out, put the new trigger, the old trigger back in, took it outside, bang, 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 shoots fine. Came back inside, meticulously put the new trigger back in, made sure everything looked good. Boom, 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 went outside, bang, bang. Doubles again, triples again, doubles again. All right, something's wrong. Came back inside, took it all apart. Again, pulled the new trigger and trigger bar out. And I will say that I just was replacing the trigger and the trigger bar, not the control arm or anything like that. Just the trigger and the trigger bar. That's it. Just this piece right here. So I started comparing the new trigger with the old trigger to see if I could see any difference. They looked almost exactly the same. I was lining them up in all different ways. And I had a hard time looking at it. But then I did notice something. And let me zoom in here so I can show you. Okay, when I was comparing the new trigger with the old trigger. Now, this is the old trigger. This is your trigger bar. Okay, and they call this the crucifix because it looks like a crucifix. So when I started looking at it, and I got to get behind the camera to make sure you can see it. All right, now the tail end of this crucifix right here, okay? appeared to be bent like this more on the old trigger. Okay, on the new trigger it seemed flatter. Okay, so I started looking at that, and what this does is this catches your striker. This catches on this lug right here, and that holds your firing pin in place. Okay, now if it's not up high enough, obviously this is going to pass, and it's going to just keep firing. And I said, I think that's what the problem is here. So I started looking at, I put the new trigger in and the old trigger in. All right, and I'm going to try to line these up so you could see it. All right, and this is what you're looking at right here. The height of this, make sure I got my finger on it right there. Okay, the height of that is what catches on the lug on your bar. Okay, and it was discernibly lower with the new trigger. Okay, when you pull the trigger, you could see it. I'm going to try to do this. Watch, see if you can see it go up. Okay, that's the catch position. And then that's when it releases and lets the fire pin go. Okay, again, that's the catch position. And that's the fire position. So I noticed that the back of that crucifix was much lower on the new trigger than the PSA Dagger trigger. So I said, well, let me see if I can just make a slight adjustment to the back of the crucifix. See if that changes anything. So what I ended up doing was I set this in a vise. I heated this up. I just used the heat gun. I heated the vise up and I heated this up. And I put this in the edge of the vise and I just started to turn it like this. And I could feel that, you know, the resistance, and it would spring back and spring back. And I started adding a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more pressure until finally I felt it just kind of give a little bit. I mean, I felt like I had bent it just minuscule. So I said, okay, let me go give that a try. So I put it back in the gun, took it outside, and first shot, fine. Second shot, doubled. Next shot, fine. Next shot, doubled. I said, okay, I made progress here. It's not doubling on every shot. Came back in, did it again. Heated up a little bit, heated up the vise, put it in there, and I just gave it a little bit. You could feel it spring. And then all of a sudden I felt a little bit. And I was like, oh, something happened. Okay, so I put it back in again and went outside, started shooting, ripped through 2 full mags, no issues. Then I've consequently shot another 150 rounds through it with it the way it is right now, and there are no issues. So I thought to myself, why did that trigger do that in the PSA Dagger? And then it dawned on me, and this is something that people have brought up many times, and I saw it online when the Daggers first came out. And if you'll notice in the Dagger, in both my Daggers, look at this gap right here. Both my Daggers, and people have said it online, so I think it's all Daggers, there's more of a gap between the slide and the frame than you would find on a Glock. You could see daylight through there if I get it right, you know. And people have said they sit higher. So, and it's exactly the same on this frame as this frame. So I thought to myself, that's it. You know, on a Dagger, the slide sits up a little bit higher and it changes the contact. It lessens the contact between the back of the crucifix and the lug because it sits up more. This is the crucifix is supposed to cover 2/3 of your lug. That's what they say in order for it to catch properly. I mean, and I moved it. I can't even say if it's a millimeter. I'm not really sure. I mean, I had to do it twice. But now when I line up the new trigger with the old trigger, it looks almost exactly the same now. The angle is the same, and it fires great. So like I said, I've got 200 rounds through this, no doubles, no nothing. Resets fine, but I think that's the issue. In a dagger, the slide just sits a millimeter higher on the frame. You could see daylight in there. And if you get a stock Glock trigger, that's designed to be flush, where the tolerances, the frames, the slide sits tight to the frame of the gun like that, and not up there. You could see that to that. There, I never would have had an issue with the trigger, if you can see that. I never would have had an issue if it stayed there. But when it sits in that rail, you see that gap. That, no issue with that trigger. That caused an issue with the new trigger. So, if you're going to get a Glock OEM trigger, or an aftermarket trigger, anything like that, and you start to have issues where your gun doubles and it doesn't want to do that, definitely take a look at the back of the crucible, and because they are made for a Glock that sits flush, not for a PSA Dagger that sits just a tad higher on the frame. Take a look at the crucible, bend that out. Like I said, took me 2 tries to get it right, and I would suggest doing it in the absolute smallest increments that you can. Heat it up a little. You don't want to break it. Just use enough pressure to get that tail to give a little bit. Test it. Do it again. But that's it. Now it runs awesome. So, and I'll give you an update on the Polymer 80 flat trigger, straight trigger. See how I like it. So far, I like it. I mean, I run straight triggers on my HKs, and I really like it. That's why I went with this on here. Like I said, it was kind of on a whim. But after I get a bunch more rounds through it, and I shoot it a little bit, I will let you know and see what I think about it. I'll do a review on it, changing the trigger. So that's about it. But if you have any questions, comments, put them down in the comments below. And as usual, if you learned something, like the video, like, subscribe. You can definitely use the subscribers. So thanks for coming by. Urban Tarzan out.